So in our previous example, we had the function definitions went first. So in other words, before we saw main, like we do here in lines 1 through 15, we would have had our functions defined first. The rationale for that, if you'll recall, there we go. I just wanted to reset this. The rationale for that, if you'll recall, is when C++ is going through and actually compiling, what has to happen is we need to make enough space for everything, right? We need to ensure that C++ has the resources in order for everything to be able to properly run. So the inclusion of the function definition first says, look, just get it out of the way. Make all the space that you need here at the very beginning before we even run any of our function calls through main. Now, the other piece of this is if we have a function prototype up first. So lines number 5 and 6 are function prototypes. They are a down payment on, what functionality are we going to include later on. So here, line 5 is a void function. So remember, a void function does not return anything. And I've got two void functions, first and second. And I don't have any of the definition there. You'll notice that those function definitions start down here on lines 17 all the way down through. So if I run this, I think you will recall that we're going to start here in main. It's going to make its first call here, so it's going to make its call to the first function here. So that will go here to line 17 through 20. When this function is done, flow of control comes back here to line 12. So line 12 is going to make a call to second as a function. So that's going to come here, and it's going to output the result of that function call. Flow of control is going to come back here to main again, and all of that we can see here in the output window. Now, there's no right way to do this. You can choose to do your function prototypes at the top and then come back to them later on as needed, or you can do all of your function definitions at the top, and then the very last thing you would have listed there is main. What I will tell you is that for those of us who have had, exposure to larger scale applications when we're building them, the function prototype makes the most sense, because what we can do is say, okay, as a developer, I have been brought here to add a functionality, and what I can do is put the down payment up there at the very, very, I'm going to call it the top, right? So joining the rest of the function prototypes there on lines 5 and 6. And later on, what we'll be able to do is build more and more functionality into it as we understand how everything has to be called, as we understand, the concrete sequential order of things as we're going through and calling functions from our driver, which is main. So I tend to, when I am doing real application development, that with the function prototype is the way that I prefer to go. But I'll tell you honestly, when I build little demo applications like these are for you guys here that live in Replit, that run, relatively small jobs, right? I mean, you're in here as a refresher, you're taking a look, you can trace through back there. There's 25 lines of code. Those run really pretty quickly. Pretty typically what I'll do is I go contrary to what my preference would ordinarily be. I will actually write the function definitions first, because I have a tendency to need to explain them to you first. Now, what I'll tell you is, for us here in class, I do not have a preference one way or the other when you are building your applications, which way you choose to do them, with the prototype or with the definition first. Either one, that works for me. My suggestion is just don't pendulate between the two of them. Don't go, I'm going to start here with prototyping, I'm going to start here with defining. That's going to screw you up more than me in the long run. So pick a nomenclature and stay with it, and that's going to help you move your developing forward faster here with functional programming, whether or not that be with the prototype first or with the definition first.